This audio program has been produced by YBM. All rights reserved. Anne of Green Gables. Chapter 2. Anne Finds a Home. Next morning, Anne woke up early. A flood of sunshine poured into the room. She slowly looked around the room.
Oh, I'm at Green Gables,
said Anne.
This is a beautiful place. I really want to live here.
At the breakfast table, Marilla said,
Well, Matthew and I decided to adopt you, but we want you to promise to be a good girl.
Suddenly, Anne started to cry.
Why are you crying, child?
Asked Marilla.
I'm crying because I'm so happy.
Sobbed Anne.
I really like it here. Everything is so beautiful. Thank you.
Anne stopped crying and asked,
Can I call you Aunt Marilla? I've never had any family, so I'd like to imagine you are my mother's sister.
I'm not your aunt,
said Marilla.
You can call me Marilla. Everyone else does.
Anne was quiet for a short time. Then she said,
Marilla, will I ever have a best friend in Avonlea?
Diana Barry is about your age,
said Marilla.
She's visiting her grandmother now, but when she comes back, we'll visit her.
Diana! What a beautiful name!
Said Anne. One day, Rachel Lynde came to visit. She knew everything that happened in Avonlea.
I've heard something surprising about you and Matthew, Marilla,
said Mrs. Lynde.
Is it true that you've adopted a girl?
Yes, she's clever and interesting,
said Marilla.
Do you want to meet her? I'll call her.
A few minutes later, Anne ran into the house.
Well, they didn't pick you for your looks, did they?
Said Mrs. Lynde. She turned to Marilla.
She's so skinny. And look at those freckles. And that hair, red as carrots.
Anne's face became very red.
You are a rude, mean woman, and I hate you!
Cried Anne.
You've hurt my feelings. I'll never forgive you!
Anne burst into tears and ran out.
Oh, what a terrible child,
said Mrs. Lynde.
You will have a lot of trouble with her.
You shouldn't have said those things about her, Rachel,
said Marilla.
It was rude.
I'm surprised that you're defending her,
said Mrs. Lynde.
I'm just sorry for you, that's all.
Marilla went to talk to Anne.
You can punish me as you want.
Said Anne.
You can throw me in a deep, dark prison, but I won't apologize.
Oh, we don't put people in deep, dark prisons in Avonlea,
said Marilla.
But you will have to apologize to Mrs. Lynde.
I won't,
said Anne.
I'll stay in my room forever.
Stay here if you want to,
said Marilla.
But you said you'd try to be a good girl while you live at Green Gables.
That night, Matthew quietly went to Anne's room. Anne was sitting sadly by the window.
Anne,
He said,
why don't you say you're sorry? Both you and Mrs. Lynde said things you shouldn't have. I want you to learn how to forgive.
I was very angry before,
said Anne.
but I'm sorry now. I'll apologize if you want me to.
Yes, do please.
Said Matthew.
It's lonely downstairs without you.
The next day, Anne and Marilla visited Mrs. Lynde's house.
Oh, Mrs. Lynde,
Said Anne, falling on her knees.
I've come to say how sorry I am. Please say you forgive me. I'll be sad all my life if you don't.
Of course, I forgive you.
Said Mrs. Lynde kindly.
And I hope you'll forgive me too.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Lynde.
Said Anne with a bright smile.
Thank you so much. Oh, isn't it a lovely morning? Mrs. Lynde, may I go and play in your garden? It's so beautiful.
Anne ran off to play.
She's an odd little thing.
Said Mrs. Lynde.
But I think you might enjoy raising her, Marilla.
Yes, it will certainly be interesting living with Anne.
Said Marilla. A few days later, Marilla gave Anne 3 new plain dresses.
Get dressed now, Anne.
Said Marilla.
We're going to the Barrys' house. You will meet Diana.
Mrs. Barry met Marilla and Anne at the door of her house. Anne saw a girl her own age sitting in the kitchen. It was Diana. She had long dark hair and brown eyes. Mrs. Barry told them to play in the yard. They went outside.
Diana,
Said Anne.
do you think we could be best friends?
I think so.
Said Diana.
I'm glad you live at Green Gables. It will be nice to have someone to play with.
Will you promise to be my best friend forever and ever?
Asked Anne.
I will like having you as my best friend.
Said Diana. Before long, they were spending all their free time together.